Thank you so much, DeAngelo, for joining me in this interview today. And I am excited to talk to you just about your experience. For those who are watching this, we are with DeAngelo McVay. He was one of the men who was incarcerated at one of the state institutions here in the state of California. I met him when I was going in as a volunteer before, and DeAngelo was one who was at the time serving life without the possibility of parole, which is an amazing story, and I'll let him tell that. And he was doing amazing work behind bars, and we'll talk about that too. But DeAngelo, if you could introduce yourself and just tell us about yourself, your story, and your time behind bars and what you were able to accomplish there.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me, Ivanka. Thank you. I'm excited to do this for a number of reasons. One, that you can get the story out that you want to get out and just let the people know and educate the people of what really goes on behind walls. My name is DeAngelo McVay, and I had life without the possibility of parole in the state prison here in California. And I was sentenced to that sentence, rightfully so, from being convicted. But at the same time, I went in running, if you want to call it. I went in running, and my motto was, okay, if I have to spend the rest of my life in prison, I'm going to become a better man right here today. Starting 1998, I said, I'm going to make my life better. I was just going to become a man at that point. And little did I know, I talked to my mom starting in the county jail. And my mom told me, she said, look, son, you can fool these people, but you're not going to fool God. She said, so you need to go into that cell or that little room you're in, and you need to make it right with God. And you ask for his forgiveness, and you ask him to come into your life and save you. And I went back pondering and pondering and pondering. And then there was a man by the name of Anthony Brown, used to come into the jails, the sheriff's departments, when I was housed there before I got sentenced, before I went to state prison, right? And he began to preach a message on Romans Road about how to be saved. And I tell you, every day that man came in, he would sing Amazing Grace. And it seemed like my heart was just shattering and shattering and shattering until one day it just burst wide open. And then I went and gave my life to Christ, and my whole life changed. And I went on to state prison, and I be like, when I say I hit the ground running, I really hit the ground running. This is like God put me on a mission right away. And even to take a step further back, even when I got to the reception center, I had this CO call me in, a Caucasian CO call me in. He says, man, you got the heart, you got a big heart. And I said, well, sir, what are you talking about? He said, you just got life without the possibility of parole, and you got a smile on your face, and you running around here like ain't nothing wrong. And I wanted to tell him at that point, that was God already. I didn't know. As I look back, I knew who that was. And he was like, I want you to work for me as a porter. And he says, I'm gonna hire you today. You can start working today. You can come out your cell. He said, you just walk around with a smile, but you just got life without. And I said, wow, I got joy. And I knew then that was God. But I went on to state prison, and I began to say, hey, I might have life without the possibility of parole, but I'm going to be an impact to somebody's life. It's going to be some youngsters. It's going to be somebody that I can touch and hear that may touch their kids. They may touch their brother. They may touch somebody, but I'm going to have an impact on somebody's life. You might be holding me captive, but you're not going to be holding my soul captive.
Yeah.
And I know
you're free here.
They can't hold that captive. Right. I was free. And so in that thinking, God began to build that and build it and build it and build it. And before you know it, I had begun to touch every yard and every prison I went to. I had begun to touch people's heart. And not only the inmates, but it was COs. That's where the favor was really coming from, was from the COs. They seen something in me and seen that I wasn't just a knucklehead. You know, it took a minute, but I was trying to really change people as I was changing myself because I hadn't arrived. Remember, I had just got saved. And so it was like God was teaching me on the run and on the fly. And I tell you, the Holy Spirit really began to move in my life. And I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Joseph, which I know you are. That was like my life in prison. It was like I wasn't never in prison.
And just to give people a perspective too, because life without the possibility of parole means that you have no opportunity to get out. Now we're going to talk about that because you're out, so we'll talk about that. But that means that everything that you were doing, you didn't know that there was no guarantee that you were going to get out. There was a resolve that this is without the possibility of parole. So talk to us about what was your motive, because now you know, according to what the sentence says, is that you're not getting out. So how did that make a difference for you inside?
Well, inside, at first, you look at it and you look back over your life, and I knew I really wasn't a bad person, but that wasn't anything right there that I wasn't a bad person, because you find a lot of good people in prison, but I had to give my life to Christ. That made the difference. And so when you talk about motive, when I gave my life to Christ, I had a different way of living. I had a different way of thinking. It was just beginning. It was in the beginning stages. And so the motive became, well, like I said earlier, I may be locked up, but it's not going to stop me from living for Christ. It's not going to stop me from doing the right things right where I'm at. I don't care. I know they say prison is hardcore, and it is. And these things happen and those things happen, but God says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. And so I begin to change my mindset. I begin to change my thinking. Regardless to where I was at, I said, I'm going to make the best of this life. I'm going to, not only once I learn, I want to be able to teach it and put it out there. This is the right way to go. I had done things all my life that wasn't fair to others. And so I said, this time, right now, since I had a chance to sit down, be quiet, and listen to God, this time I wanted to make it right. And the motive began to, I wanted to change. I wanted to change others' lives. I wanted to speak off into others' lives. And God allowed this big illumination to really come to pass.
Now, let me ask you, so you make this decision that not only you're going to change your life, but you are going to impart something positive into the lives of the other men that were incarcerated in there for you. In what ways were you able to accomplish that? Because there were a lot that you did, and there were people that you also partnered with who were also incarcerated with you. What were some of the things you were able to accomplish?
Some of the things that was really captivating to me was to gain the attention of other men. Once I gained trust, and because it's hard in there to gain trust with other men. Okay, the trust factor is I'm gonna do just what I say I'm gonna do. If all day long there's problems in prison, so let me take the time and sit and listen. Let me take the time and pray with you. Let me take the time. I might don't have all the answers, but let me take the time and give and pour into you. If you're hurting, I'm hurting. And those are things that people really didn't have right there in prison. It was like hands-on. And so when we had yard time, we didn't have yard time, I might have stayed in, sit with somebody at a table. And I might have asked the CO, hey, can I stand by his door for a while? Can you open his door? Let me just talk to him. He's going through some things.
Yeah.
And they would grant me that because they seen the changes that I had made through the power of God. But now I'm trying to do the same for someone else. You know, you see someone get off the phone, hang it up and start crying, you know that they just got a death phone call.
Yeah.
You know, they made a death phone call and found out that someone's dead. So I would pay attention to those things. Or somebody would say something, I would go by their cell and sit there and sit down and just talk to them about it. And those things, you gain trust. They gain trust and they see, well, here's somebody that really care. And it ain't me, it was God in me.
And you know what's interesting? I had a situation one time with one of the inmates that was in one of the classes that I was facilitating, or I was managing the volunteers that were facilitating the class. And I needed to speak with him regarding some issues concerning the class, but I'm a chaplain, right? So I was not thinking. So I asked the CEO, the correctional officer, to call him out of his cell to come and talk to me. And it wasn't on a day where he had class. So when he came walking across the yard toward me, he looked like, oh my God, you know. I was like, what is wrong with him? So when he got to me, he was like, well, what happened? What happened? And I was like, I'm calling because you haven't had your homework assignment. You haven't. And he was like, huh? And he was like, you're the chaplain and you just called me out of my cell. So he's thinking the only reason the chaplain is calling me is because somebody in my family, something happened.
Yeah.
And so I had to be mindful of that. Like you said, somebody hangs up the phone and they start crying. That means somebody died. There's not a whole lot that's going to shake up an incarcerated man.
Right.
So yeah, I had to be even sensitive to that. In terms of the programming, I know because there's a lot of things that you started there. For those who are listening, DeAngelo, he earned his master's degree while he was behind bars. This is something that he earned on his own. And did you help establish the Bible college that was there?
Yeah, well, how that happened, I was looking to get in college somewhere. And I went to the chaplain. I say, I'm getting ready to find a Bible college that I can do mail to mail, you know, where they can send me in materials. I do the work and send it back. And I asked Chaplain John, I was the chaplain at the time. I said, well, what about this college right here? And he said, okay, I'll check it out. I said, would you? So he reported back maybe about a month later or 2 weeks, somewhere 2 weeks to a month later. And he said, this is what's going on there. I say, would you go check it out for us? He went and checked it out for us, and he came back smiling with great news. They asked him, would he be the dean on campus and he can teach the lessons that we would get credit for. And that's how the Bible college got started there.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. And there were so many other things that you all did there in terms of programs. How do the in-prison programming, both the kind, you know, with the volunteers that go in as well as and you can explain the ones where the inmates lead the programming. Why is it important and what type of programs were you able to develop and how does it help when someone from the outside makes a decision to go in and either volunteer their time or help in some capacity?
Well, I'll start with why is it very important. One is they don't have really programs that people from the outside come in and do. And so when people decide with their heart, spirit, and mind to come in, the inmates from this side of the wall, on the inside of the wall, really appreciate that. And not only do they appreciate it, they go back. I could take me, for example. I go back into the cell and I think, you know, these people are coming from afar to teach me or to be here and teach me something that I wasn't able to get hands-on when I was out there in the streets. And now I have a chance to sit down there's a profound respect there, opposed to somebody works there and want to teach something. They like, how do you know that you care about me? Well, one, you coming just for a paycheck. A volunteer doesn't come in there for a paycheck.
Exactly.
A volunteer is volunteering. So they understand there is a difference. And you're not saying that all people that work there doesn't care. I'm not saying that. But inmates recognize that there is a difference.
Yeah, when somebody is volunteering their time.
Volunteering their time. And they have a real sense of urgency to want to learn, to want to be there, because you coming from afar to teach these things. You care. And there's not too many people that care about inmates.
And I'm going to tell you, well, I'm going to ask you, why would you say, in your own words, why it's important for people who are not incarcerated to care about inmates? Somebody may not decide to go in, but they may decide to donate or to finance someone else going in and to offsetting that cost. Why is it important for people to do that?
Well, I believe it's very important because just one life might be changed. Just one. And that was my motto. I know I can't change CDC in its entirety, but if we can get that one, that one to change. Look what happened to me. There was a change. There was a dramatic change. There was a whole shift that makes me go in right today, because I know what that one person can do, and impact can do to change that one life. And if we can get one life changed. So donating money, donating time is very important, because it can change one life. And if that one life can be changed, you don't know the impact that he can have on the rest behind the wall. And so it's just like a chain reaction.
So what other type programs did you have a hand in starting back? This is before knowing you have an opportunity to get out, because you're not supposed to get out, remember? So what other type of programs? So you help establish the Bible College, and and then there are other programs and things that were there. First of all, how long were you there?
I was there for 20 years straight, with a life without the possibility of parole sentence. My sentence, they call it a toe tag parole, and you only get out with a toe tag. That's what they called it. They even made a movie with it.
A toe tag parole.
Parole.
Woo.
That's what they call it.
That's rough.
That is.
That is a visual.
They made a movie about it. A little, they came and shot videos and skits all over the yard when there was a film crew there, and it's called Toe Tag Parole.
Interesting. So now you have this toe tag parole, and but your heart has changed, and your mind's being renewed, and you're taking action on some things. You're going to school, you're getting these degrees. You're imparting to the other men there. Because now what you're doing is because you've changed, you're sowing seed that now will change other people. Everybody doesn't have a toe tag parole. Some people are going to be getting out and getting back out into society, but they've had an opportunity to be before you to help shift them in a positive direction, which is awesome. So in that, there's the Bible College. There's some other things you did there.
Start the dog program.
That you helped start the dog program, and that's training the dogs for disability service animals, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And then is there any other type of programs?
We started doing donations very heavily. We would do food sales. Groups would have food sales and donate thousands of dollars to hospitals, women's battle shelter, Cancer of America Society.
And the Jude's Hospital as well, too.
Children's Hospital, Jude Hospital. He was donating all over, no matter where we seen a need or where we seen that we can be a help and try to be an influence to the outside. We was donating thousands of dollars.
Okay.
It became part of, I had a major flack in this when I first did it. When a CO would die or a CO, we would buy flowers and send money. We would take up a donation. This was really big, where inmates didn't like it at first. COs didn't like it at first, but then by the grace of God, everybody became accustomed to, we're going to buy flowers and send money to the family from the inmate perspective.
And that's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, we got to the point where COs would go get the flower. The warden would sign off for the CO to go and get the flowers or donate the check to the family. But at first it was chaotic. They was like, no, oh no. I mean, so we created things like that. We created colleges on campus, Cal State LA. I don't know, the one in Antelope Valley College, and all kind of colleges. Men began to get their AA and BA degrees. Helping Hands, that was a group that I started aimed at Helping Hands. So we would just do a lot of food sales or fundraising, and we would find an organization that need help or whatever, and we'd donate all the funds to them. So it was a lot of organizations like that was really started.
And that's really amazing. That's why I wanted to encourage people to support, not only to support our volunteers that are going to go inside and partake in the process, the educational process, just in terms of, because what I found too is that when we go inside the prison, it's an aspect of the outside of the world that is coming in that also can give a perspective as well. And it's an important vantage point when someone is wanting, if we're going to be more rehabilitative as opposed to being more punitive. So what I'd like to do is just talk about you, because there's 3 of you that you had this toe tag parole, which that's pretty final. And I'm gonna tell you, because I was even shocked when you all got out, and it was an amazing thing. But what happened? You've gone 20 years straight with this life without the possibility of parole, but you're doing all this great stuff behind bars, and you're really with a clean motive, wanting to be a better person, want to be a better man, and also want to impart something into others so that they can also have the tools that's necessary to become better. And you're doing that yourself, but you have outside volunteers who are coming in with their course work, with their programs. I know we go around prisons now. I'm partner in a theater company. We take plays into the prisons. We do all kinds of things that plant seed of hope into those who need hope. So what happens with you? And there's a couple other gentlemen that I hope to interview. I'm sure I will. What happens when now your life shifts? Because the sentence that is non-reversible is now what's happening.
Well, in my mind, I would be amiss if I say it didn't get discouraging sometimes.
Yeah.
It did. But the motive and the drive would be, every time that you wanted to give up or quit, someone would come and need a listening ear. Someone would come and need some help, and it just, this is the crazy thing about it. It just wasn't inmates. It was every people that worked there.
Yeah.
So that was just staff. That was a motivating drive to say, you have to keep going. You have to keep on performing the work that you have started. And, it wasn't till like about 7 years in, I had to swallow a pill. And the pill was, I told God, I said, I used to always say, I'm not going to say this, but I told God, if I have to serve you for the rest of my life, then that's what I have to do right here. And when I swallowed that pill and said, God, this is what I'm going to do, and I came to that truth of myself, it really changed then.
Yeah.
It really changed then. I mean, there was like a light went on, and it was like, all right, he's committed to me.
Yeah.
I have to move on his behalf. And God began to move, and God began to show me his hand. And every time I would get discouraged, he would do something miraculous to let me know, I got you, I got you, I got you. So the motivating drive, I would have to say, is the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
I would have to. And not only just the Holy Spirit, I could talk about the people that came in.
Yeah, because God works through people.
Yeah, God works through people, and he really did. They spoke encouraging things into my life. I just went back in Thursday with Sister Diane. She goes in on Thursdays and teach Bible studies. Maybe about 18 years ago, for about almost 3 or 4 months straight, we would talk about me and her walking into the prison together.
Mhm.
Well, just the other week we did. And she almost started crying because she had spoke this over me, and we had talked about it, and she was faithful. She's still going, and it happened. We walked from the beginning. We parked together and we walked in together.
Yeah.
And she, when we got in, was walking on that roadway, she almost started crying because it came to pass. It was 17, 18, 19 years later,
Mhm.
but here I was.
Yeah.
And so, and she's nothing but a volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So look what she did. Speaking into my life, encouraged me every Thursday when she came in.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's important for volunteers. Very important.
Because it makes a difference. It makes a difference. And so tell us how you came to have this sentence reversed. You know, what happened there? Because the toe tag was removed from your toe, and then you were released. And so tell us about how did that happen?
Well, I have to say the clean motive, starting back in 2000, of me saying I just want to be a help to someone else. You never know, if I help this young man, he gets out, he teaches his kids. I have grandkids and kids. Society can be better one person at a time. And so I had a good motive, and I really meant it, and that's where my heart was at, to just change lives. And that's my motive today, right now.
Yeah.
It's just to change lives, and because it ain't stopped yet. And so that motive, me having that motive to change lives, and God opened it up the way he did and gave me so much favor, like Joseph. I met with wardens on a regular basis. I met with captains on a regular basis. I'm talking about, I met with the union president all the time. He worked on our yard. At first, he could not stand inmates, but from the relationships that we built working together to make things happen and to make it a better, even the CEOs used to be mad. CEOs used to be like this, Chaplain Ivanka. We ain't coming over here. This is too soft. Until they wanted to make that their retirement place.
Yeah.
Oh, we bidding over here to be over here, because they seen the environment. And so I had Associate Warden walk me across, and he's a white Caucasian. Hard. He's very hard-nosed. He walked me across the yard one day. He said, "Walk with me, McVay." He said, "You don't deserve to be here. You need to be out." I said, wow.
Wow.
Very hard-nosed. Lock them up, throw away the key. So when I see stuff like that, those are the things, and it wasn't just me, but I was just a part and one of the leaders of it, because I happened to be the leader of that yard. I was the chairman. A chairman don't last but no more than 3 or 4 months or 6 months. I was the chairman for over 18 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was a chairman for over 18 years. And so, you know, that's God. And so they begin to believe in the vision and what we was trying to do. Everybody didn't, but we got 90-some% on board.
Yeah.
And once we got 90-some% on board, it just kept going. We kept going. The paperwork from 115s being wrote dropped from 200 and some 115s to 10 a month.
Now, to explain what 115 is.
A 115 is a write-up where you get an infraction and those things go in your file. You can get that from drugs, anything not obeying the CO, fights, or whatever the situation that goes on in prison. But we went from 200 and something 115s a month to 5 and 10 a month.
And see, that's an amazing shift, because now there's a culture change. So the point that I want to bring out in this, when people go inside the prison from the outside and they're imparting hope and they're imparting education and they're imparting all the things that they're imparting, there is the people who are involved are ones who have the capability to shift the culture of a yard.
Yes, you can.
So it's important work. So even if you are not personally going, if you want to personally go, it's awesome. But when you financially support the organization that goes in, like with Beyond the Shackles and us going in, this is what we do. We go in and do what we can to provide hope, to show the heart of God, and to impart that, because it makes a shift, not just in the classroom, that then goes out into the other aspects of the populations of the prison, even if they're not directly in the class. And some of them end up in the class.
Amen. And you're so correct. That shift, I mean, it starts with one. That shift, that support, and even like you say, even if you personally go in, is just so important. I can't stress that enough, because we after one. We got to remember, just that one can change a whole culture change, because he begins to spread what he's learning and the tools that are given to him. And once people, one thing in prison is they watch. They watch.
That's
I mean, you
true.
have to watch. They watch.
They don't talk a lot, but they watch.
They're going to watch, and they're going to see. And when they see a change in someone, and a change is taking place behind the scenes, it's just like Nicodemus. Behind the scenes, they'll go ask questions.
Yeah.
They'll go ask questions. I had hundreds and hundreds of gang members come to me behind the scene.
Yeah.
I had my own office in prison. I had my own office and a computer in prison. And I had hundreds of gang members come to me and talk to me and how they wanted to change, and they didn't know how.
Yeah.
And so it's just the one. And then once you begin to spread that, I mean, even today, Ivanka, I have hundreds of men call me.
Yeah.
Right today, and just be like, thank you. You spoke life into me. We started football on the level 4 yard. They let us get bats and balls. We started baseball. We started basketball leagues.
And that's maximum security, if you don't know what level 4 is.
Maximum security. They let us do all these things because the culture had changed. We changed it. And I'm proud to, when I was up there Thursday, they told me, well, you guys left a blueprint.
Yeah.
And they got to follow this, because we know it can be done. You guys did it.
Look at that.
And so it comes from people as yourself coming in and teaching and preaching and just setting an example. Hey, I do care about you. You don't never get out of here, but you can become a better man right where you at.
Yeah. And you can make a difference. And that's one of the things I always encourage when I'm there. Whatever you want to do with your life in terms of purpose, it's in this prison, wherever you are now. It's not when you get out. It's now.
Right.
Even if you're due to get out in 2 years, what are you doing now to prepare? Your life is now. It's not later. And the men and women that do better, that I see that do better, where the recidivism rate is decreased, is the ones who have done the work while they're inside.
Okay.
So that the challenges that come when you're released, you have more tools, you have a different mindset, your heart posture is different. So you have a better opportunity of staying out. One, because you want to stay out. Because when you don't do that work, you want to go back in.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know when I ever was going to get out, if that was even possible, even though I was fighting, to get out, but I didn't ever know when I was going to get out. That's what the parole board told me. Mm-hmm. When at the parole board, once I got commuted, the governor commuted me, and I went to the parole board. The lady, the DA at the court hearing, she was like, well, he doesn't deserve to get out, and he hasn't done this, and he hasn't done this. That panel said, wait a minute now.
Yeah.
Here is a man didn't never know when he was getting out. He had life without the possibility of parole. And he started this work 15, 20 years ago, and he's been maintaining this work. You gonna say what he hasn't done?
Yeah.
They said, I'm sorry, that's not so. You can't sit up here and slap this man in the face and say what he hasn't done. He didn't know he was ever going to be able to have this opportunity to come before a parole board.
And you did it anyway.
And I did it. That's what the man said. And he did it anyway. You look at these letters from wardens and associate wardens and captains and lieutenants. They said, look, you can't deny this. Mm-hmm. And that's the foundation that was built because of people as yourself coming in. That was the heart changing of God, and that was the decision making, because everybody has a decision to make in their life. We have to make that decision, and I had made the decision, well, if I was going to die in prison, I bet you I was going to be a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to be a man. I was going to learn what it takes to be a man, even if it was going to have to be there. I was going to say no to peer pressure. I was going to say no to wrongdoing. I was going to say no, and I was going to make sure I did it right.
Wow.
And so that's the motive.
And you got your opportunity when the governor commuted your sentence. And it was absolutely amazing, because I didn't know. At this time, I had personally stopped going to that particular prison. Mm-hmm. And I was in a Sunday service. It was at a large church in the Los Angeles County area. And there's two of you together, but somebody saw my face on the overhead screen, the big screen, where they were panning across the congregation. And I got tapped on the shoulder. And I got tapped on the shoulder. And it was the other person who also had this toe tag sentence, who was standing in front of me. I was like, I recognized him, but I didn't recognize him. You know what I mean? And he has a birthmark on his face. That was the only thing that I started calculating, because he had street clothes on. He didn't have on the prison clothes. Right. And he was like, you know me. And I was like, and he said his name was Traviel. I'm like, what? When it clicked, I was still like, wait a minute, that's not possible, because you're in for a life sentence without the possibility of parole. And he says, not only am I out, guess who's outside with his wife? Yeah. And that was you. And I went out there, you were looking surprised.
Yes, that was a great moment.
You had only been out a week and a half, a week?
No, I don't, maybe not even that long.
Yeah,
maybe not even that long.
A few days.
2 days.
Yeah, because everything moved pretty quickly once you got your sentence commuted. It was like quick, right?
Yeah, it moved real quick. Me and him was the first two. Mm-hmm. We were Sally's for I think about 9, 10 years, we were Sally's, and then
Yeah.
we moved over to a 5 building and got our own cell. We was next door to each other. We was in the dog program. And it's funny, we talked about this way back in 2002, and I mean about 2005, 2006. We talked about this, that it was coming,
Yeah.
and that all we had to do is be patient and then stay the course. And we had our challenges too, because there was a time, and I don't know if I can talk about it right here, but I'm gonna say it if it's okay with you.
Yeah, it's
It
okay.
ain't. There was time where we didn't have no food on our shelf, right? None. Shelves, you could say hello, and it would echo. He found a ball of weed at work. He brung it back. He did. He found a ball of weed at work, and he brung it back. And he said, "What you want to do with this?" I said, you know what we got to do with this. He said, "Well, look at our shelves." And we both looked at the shelves. And not that he wanted to, he didn't want to.
Yeah.
He was seeing where I was at too, right?
Yeah.
We flushed it.
Wow.
We could have made hundreds of dollars, but we
Yeah.
flushed it.
Yeah.
We flushed it because we had to stay the course.
Yeah.
It was a lot of things like that. I mean, in prison, never ever used a cell phone. I was offered new phone. I mean, never
They're all
touched
over the place.
and they're all over the place. So when you talk about commitment and just doing the right things, the tools that you guys will bring in there, it will touch someone.
Yeah.
And those tools really work, and they will stick with people. All we have to do is continue to bring in the tools for people to have. There's been many times on the yard, there's been a fight, or I've been knowing somebody was fit to get into it. I'll go stop it. What y'all doing? And the thing about it, you don't do that in prison. You do not do that in prison. But God gave me a boldness. And you know what?
Gave you favor.
People would say, "Thank you for doing that." I'm talking about people that was involved. Sometimes there was going to be wars, and I would go to the respective people and iron it out. And you'd be surprised behind closed doors. They'd say, "Thank you. Thank you." Didn't want to do it.
Saved a life.
Yeah, they want somebody to step in and say something. At least that's where we was breaking grounds in people's hearts and in people's mind, to us to step in and say, "Hey, this ain't gonna happen."
Yeah.
That did that countless of times. And it's just a blessing to be able to come from under toe tag parole. God stepped in, the governor seen the work we was putting in. I think I got an amazing letter that the warden, this never had been done. The warden wrote me a letter saying how I ought to be let out of prison.
Yeah.
I mean, I have it today. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I was like, wow, a letter from the warden asking the governor to let me go?
Yeah, you guys have made an amazing mark there, a positive, indelible mark. And I just want to say, we're coming to the end of our time. How proud I am of you,
Thank you.
and so many of the other men that I will be talking to, and women that I've worked with behind the wall that are now out and doing well. Let people know quickly, what have you had on the horizon since you've been out? How long has it been? And then just any final words that you have in terms of encouraging people to either get involved with volunteerism or, with their donations.
Okay. Right now, me and Treviel currently still has a nonprofit organization that we are still trying to get off the ground. We got across a book that was still trying to get going. But at the end of the day, I think that right now I'm volunteering in prison. I'm volunteering in prison.
So just so people understand, now you spent 20 years there, got your sentence commuted, you got out of prison, but now you are going back in as a volunteer,
Yeah,
someone who is a
yeah,
returning citizen, you know, that,
right.
you know, many would say, you
Crazy.
let
A
me
whole
out,
bunch saying that to me.
you let me
Yeah.
out, I won't be seeing the inside of that place
Well,
ever.
well, that right there just, for me, that solidifies my story because it solidifies the actions of my plans early that I just want to change lives. So I got it there. So now let me go back and give it to somebody that's going to need it. And you'll be surprised. I promise you, when I go back in there, people be crying and thanking me for coming back to see about them.
Yeah,
I mean, you should, it's like a thirst.
yeah,
Oh, you should see it. And that gives me that motive to say, okay, I'll be back. I'll be back. I'll be back.
yeah. But also they see you got out and you doing well for yourself and you're enjoying your life.
Right.
And that's what they dream of if they ever have
Yes.
opportunity.
That's that
Yeah,
hope you keep
yeah,
talking about.
yeah. You know, so they can see it's possible. They can see it's
Yes, they see
possible.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to change in that aspect.
Yeah,
I see it, I hear it. You can see the thirst and the hunger for it.
yeah,
And I tell them, you know, sometimes it's not just like a microwave. It just don't happen like that. And you got to be prepared for the long run,
mm-hmm.
if that's what it takes. But more importantly than just to get out, how about let's just be a man now?
Yeah.
How about let's just be a better person
Mm-hmm.
than I was before? You know, because before I didn't hurt people.
Yeah,
I don't want to hurt people no more.
yeah.
I want to be a help to people now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in any way I can, I want to be a help. How about that as an adjective?
Yeah,
I want to just go out and help you.
yeah,
And I want to be out and be some good comfort. How about now when I call on the phone, I got a solution to some of the problems that my people or my friends are going through.
yeah,
It ain't that reaction that I used to give.
yeah.
And people will see that change.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. I think it's absolutely amazing. And I want to thank you so much. And you'll see if someone wants to write the organization, they can write us at info@beyondtheshackles.com. And if you want to contact the organization, you can contact us by phone, which is 310-946-9286. You can reach us. And if you're viewing this, you're already on the website, but the website is www.beyondtheshackles.com. And if you want to get in contact with DeAngelo McVay, write us at the organization here. We will reach out to him if you have someone that is interested in maybe if they want him to speak for their organization and tell his story. We can most certainly make contact that way as well. But I want to thank you so much, DeAngelo. I appreciate you dearly. And I'm proud of the work that you are doing. And I just want to encourage you to keep going.
Thank you so much, Ivanka.
Yeah, I
Thank you
know
so much.
you're very welcome. I know we're going to have some more great stories because your story's not finished. You got so much on the
Amen.
horizon. I'm excited for you.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.